Let's continue it now, and we are pleased to welcome in our good friend who, it just seems like a few minutes ago you saw him with our coverage from Newsmax New York, the host of the Steve Malzberg Show, weeknights at 7. It's Steve Malzberg. And also with us, the former Lieutenant Governor of New York, Skyping in tonight from Connecticut, where there's a primary going on, Betsy McCaughey. Betsy, thanks so much. Ladies first, have you heard from your neighbors there in the Nutmeg State? What are you hearing on the Betsyometer for this evening?
First of all, very big turnout, intense interest in this election. And that bodes well for Bernie Sanders and the Democrats and for Trump and the Republicans. And for the Republican Party overall, Trump has excited so much interest. The second thing I'd like to say is this. Another number came out today that appears unrelated to the election, but is very key to Donald Trump's momentum. That is the GDP growth number for the first quarter of this year. It is so low, way below 1%, way below what is needed to keep people employed. And the people who are going to the polls and pulling the lever for Donald Trump are voting for job opportunities. They want growth. They want a chance to make a living again.
Let me turn to you, Steve Malzberg from Newsmax New York. And you offered an hour of coverage preceding this one. I'm just very interested, you know, in terms of covering a political campaign, there have been so many twists and turns in this surprising year, including the much ballyhooed, and it may be soon the late and unlamented, Cruz-Kasich alliance. Is there anything to this?
Well, they certainly came up with a plan, and it certainly, they didn't know what they were doing. Because you had Cruz saying, yes, John Kasich has decided to take his resources out of Indiana, so you could all vote for me next week, and John doesn't want you to vote for him. And then John Kasich says a few minutes later, I didn't ask anybody not to vote for me. I want you to vote for me. So they don't know what they're doing. So how that plays out, that's their problem. But I think Donald Trump capitalized on it, just as he's capitalized on this crazy delegate system that's all over the place. He said, look, they're plotting against me. They're colluding. It's collusion. If you do that in the private sector, you go to jail. And now they're doing it here against me. I think it just makes him look like more of the underdog, even though he's the front runner. And I think it's going to help him, like almost everything else that happens. It's going to help Trump.
Well, speaking of
Steve
Trump,
is right. This is like price fixing, and everybody knows it. It's just stinky.
well, let's bring in somebody who might have a different opinion. Also at Newsmax New York, attorney and political strategist Sam Nunberg. Sam, when I sat down with Donald Trump, you were there to greet me, and yet you traversed the ideological minefield from Trump to Cruz. Do you have a more charitable view, therefore, of the Cruz-Kasich alliance?
Well, first of all, I disagree with my friend Steve and the other panelists. There's nothing wrong and there's nothing crazy about this delegate system. The fact of the matter is you have to win a majority, not the most. And if Donald, who has had all the advantages throughout this cycle in terms of free media, in terms of getting all these humongous rallies and coverage, which he's rightfully owned and earned, if he cannot get 1,237 delegates, then we go to a second ballot. And those are the rules. Now, Donald also has the lowest percentage in modern history of total vote, meaning he's not even crossed 40% of the total vote that's gone out of the total primary vote. So this whole idea, and I understand if you're a Trump supporter, you want to continue making excuses, you want to talk about collusion. Look, the fact of the matter is Ted Cruz, that was the art of the deal by his campaign manager, Jeff Rowe. He just had John Kasich move out of Indiana, the neighboring state of Ohio, to let him go win around 56 delegates next Tuesday. And just like Paul Manafort, who I have deep respect for, who's running the Trump campaign, said that Ted Cruz's best days were behind him. Actually, Donald's best days are behind him. When you go into May, when you go into June 7th, Donald will be getting a very, very small portion of the remaining delegates. And at that time, when nobody has 1237, we then go to the second ballot. And then we can have all the arguments we want. But at that time, that's what we have to see. And, this has been a tremendous, and it's been a large caucus. And if Donald can't get to 1237 with people like Steve Malzberg giving him, free airtime all the time, Steve, I love you, and the way this channel works, or Fox News, then that's just the reality. The reality is the rules apply to everyone, including Donald Trump. And I've worked for Donald for a long time, and I know he doesn't think so, but those are the rules.
Well, since you mentioned Steve Malzberg's name, let's let Malzberg.
Ted Cruz.
Go ahead, Steve. Your response, then we'll get Betsy. Go ahead.
The invite has gone out. The invite has gone out to Ted Cruz. Believe me, he's welcome here anytime. As I've told you, he's welcome here anytime. So if you want free airtime, please bring him on. Okay, but I just don't see it. I mean, I didn't say that he can't get to 1237. That's unfair. I just said that the system. I'm not saying it's illegal. I'm just saying the people believe that it's crazy that in a state where you get the most votes, you don't get the most delegates. Look, I just think that this deal, this art of the deal, as you described it, wasn't too artful. Because Cruz said Kasich doesn't want you to vote for him anymore, and Kasich said, "I want you to vote for me."
You know what,
Steve? It's artful for the Cruz. So wait, hold on a second. It's artful for the Cruz campaign. Ted Cruz needs to win Indiana. What did John Kasich say there? John Kasich is saying, I'm going to compete in Oregon and I'm going to compete in New Mexico.
But
Ted Cruz doesn't have to put resources in those states. That's 62 delegates remaining there, of which they're all proportional. You don't even have a threshold.
Sam, he said, I still want people to vote for me in Indiana. That's what he said.
And I still want to hear from Betsy McCaughey. Let's bring Betsy into the conversation again. Go ahead, Betsy.
I hear the rules are the rules. They've always been the rules. Rules are made to be changed. And the fact is, these rules have protected the insiders, the elite, and prevented the people from really choosing their own candidates. It's time to change the rules.
And one rule is we like to hear from the candidates, even if we have to electronically reproduce what they say via videotape. Donald Trump yesterday, with his comments on the Cruz-Kasich alliance, he was on the stump in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. Here's what the Donald makes of this new alliance.
One is 1 for 41. I won many, many states. Millions of votes ahead, many states, many delegates. The other one, he's like a total disaster. He goes to New York last week. He doesn't even register. He's so low. He got no delegates. Folks, they ought to both drop out of the race, so we ought to unify the Republican Party.
To great cheers in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. And there is something else worth noting, panel. We only have about a minute and a half left in this particular portion of our coverage. But Trump, in a brand new NBC News poll done in cooperation with SurveyMonkey, 1,000 likely voters nationally, Trump to 50% as the choice of Republicans. Steve Malzberg, this is a watermark for Mr. Trump, is it not?
It is, and it's in combination with another poll, a nonpartisan poll came out yesterday that shows Trump and Hillary neck and neck and within the margin of error. So things are going Trump's way. Let them keep attacking. Let them keep playing games. Let them keep making deals. Trump emerges as the guy who smells the best.
Yes, and this almost evokes the notion that this is smell-o-vision, but it's also television with the emphasis on telephones. And we want again to invite you in because we'd like your voice to be heard. Here is the number you can call to let us know what's on your mind tonight in terms of our coverage and what is transpiring in these 5 states. The number to call: 1-877-Newsmax. That's 1-877-639-7629. Steve Malzberg from Newsmax New York, we thank you for your time. Sam Nunberg and Betsy McCaughey, we will ask you to stay with us, and we will ask you to stay right where you are as we continue our coverage. Again, to repeat, network projections say that Donald Trump has been named the winner of the Republican primaries in Maryland, Connecticut, and Pennsylvania. We'll check on the other 2 states and have more after this.